You won't believe what Richard Harris hid behind the camera. Get ready to step into a world where Harris's devilish deeds were kept in the shadows, hidden from the spotlight. From playing the bully card to leaving a trail of chaos in his wake, he was the definition of unpredictable. You'd never guess in a million years that this same guy, the master of mayhem, leaving a trail of chaos wherever he went, had a soft side. I mean, who would have thought, right? He was so hungry for attention that he'd go to extreme lengths just to get noticed. All he wanted was something he never got, the attention he never quite got from his parents. Women, alcohol, and illegal substances were the tools of the trade of some actors of the golden age of Hollywood. These stars caused a ruckus everywhere they went, and some more than others. Richard Harris was one of the ones that genuinely cherished making trouble. People are wrong. He wasn't a hellraiser. The man was the devil himself, and you'll soon see why. What turned Richard Harris into the devil? Are you familiar with the expression dining with the devil? Yeah, sure you are. It's quite the popular expression, isn't it? Did you know the devil they talked about in that expression was Richard Harris? Richard featured in many action films, especially war movies, which he acted in the early stage of his career. But Richard wasn't just the action guy. The man's acting portfolio had comedy, drama, and westerns, among other genres, and he acted across mediums, as he also got Broadway roles. However, as much as he was well known for his films, he was more known as being a devil. OK, so Harris actually isn't the devil, but he might as well be, with how incredibly mean and nasty the man was. If you think we are exaggerating, we'll tell you some of the dark stunts the man has pulled and let you decide. I've got great contacts with the underworld, Harris said in an interview. See what we mean? We should end this piece right here. We've proven our point about the actor being a devil, so bye. OK, come back. There's so much more about Harris's mischief that we'll love to let you know. The star was an impossible man who seemed to always compensate for something. He dreaded being forgotten, and he tried everything to be in the spotlight. Some of these things were downright inhumane and evil. The crazy part? Harris knew the things he was doing were bad, and guess what? It delighted him. He loved being a bully, and no one was spared from his bullying. Directors, fellow actors and actresses, and even his wives and producers. A producer sued Harry for drinking on set, and guess what the actor did? He countersued for defamation. While the matter was settled out of court, it didn't change the fact that Richard loved the bottle too much. The man went on binges, inspiring a young actor to start drinking. There was no line, no boundary for this man. This man would maltreat a woman and would brag that he was laying down the law for them. What the heck does that even mean? He was an actor, not a lawmaker. And it wasn't that Harris was even law-abiding himself. This man once took an apple on the set of a film he was in, crushed it with his hands, and said menacingly to the director that, "If you don't get out of this room right now, this is what I'll do to your skull." Honestly, he would do it. This man split the lips of a fellow star, David Hemmings, at a party. However, the two would eventually become friends, and the actor would save Harris's life. He had difficulty filming some scenes and turned to the only solution he knew: drinking. One morning, when Richard had too much to drink, he walked along the ledge of a hotel, threatening to jump. He declared how much he hated Warner Brothers and Hollywood and threatened to end it all by jumping. But David Hemmings was around. He had come to pick up the actor for filming before seeing him on the ledge. David began talking to Richard and asked him if he wanted to end his life. Harris came to his senses and decided not to because of one thing: drinks. He needed more to drink. To Harry, he had the right to cause trouble and threaten co-stars because he was asserting his dominance as a manly man. At least sometimes he tackled his problems by talking. Most times Harris just had screaming matches with people, and they weren't pretty. Once a studio driver didn't open a car's door quickly and the actor went completely crazy. He caused a scene and brought attention to himself over such a small matter. Speaking of attention, did you know that the actor had a go at unarguably one of the acting gods of the time? So Harris had a go at Marlon Brando. He called Brando a gross misconceived amateur. According to the actor, he didn't do it behind Marlon's back. Harris claimed he said to Brando's face. The actor was wrong, though. Marlon was anything but a bad actor. However, Brando could be a handful on set. He never stuck around after filming, and could be a complex man to work with. It was due to Brando's attitude that Richards clashed with him. And it must have hurt Richards too, to see the man he admired so much act in that manner. Never meet your hero, they say, and in Harris's and Brando's case, it was true. At least he had being a menace in common with his hero. Marlon himself raised hell in his own way. You could even say he brought hell into the lives of the women he dated. Rita Hayworth was one of those women, and boy did she suffer. She even got rid of a baby for Brando while he had children with other women. At least bad as Brando was, he didn't think women were property. Harris certainly did, but he didn't also show the men better regard too. His attitude showed in the way he dealt with his co-stars. The man called one of his co-stars, Charlton Heston, boring, but he didn't do it in the nicest of ways. Thinking himself to be the greatest comedian, he said Charlton Heston was so square he must have been born in a cubic womb. Classic Harris. That was him being nice. But he wasn't witty or comedic towards Lawrence Harvey and Richard Todd while filming The Long and the Short and the Tall. In that film, Harris played a British soldier, and it looked like he may have taken his character too far. Speaking of going too far, he shot down Kirk Douglas's excitement when the latter showed him his art collection. He told Kirk that Kirk was allowing showing him his art collection just to display his wealth. Wow, what a nice funny man Harris was. When Richards wasn't feeling nice, he screamed the house down on the person unfortunate to anger him. Just look at director Lindsay Anderson, who was smiling on set, and Richards screamed at the director that he should only smile when Richard told him so. What a ray of sunshine Richard Harris was. He acted terribly and egotistic towards his co-stars and directors. Not being able to turn his ego off also affected his performance in his films. His critics didn't spare him. One of them said the actor was only capable of exaggerated whispering or barks. Ouch! But we suppose Harris deserved some of these criticisms, and the actor himself fueled his narrative against himself. Some actors talked about their films and their preparation for them. Richards talked about how much of a tough, dominant guy he was. However, some critics didn't think he was such a tough guy. If he was such a dominant guy as he postured, why didn't he try to bully Rachel Roberts? Richard was on his best behaviour when the two of them starred in This Sporting Life. Yeah, Richard wasn't the monster all the time. When he didn't want to take a role because he didn't want to be committed to a film with multiple parts, he changed his mind when his granddaughter threatened never to talk to him again. So, if he could be the doting, loving grandpa, why wasn't he so warm when he was younger? Could it be that Richard was another victim of Hollywood, or was he just born bad? Come find out. Maybe the actor wasn't the lovable grandpa after all. Apart from inspiring the next generation of actors to drink, he swore a lot. He also feared for his legacy, believing the film would be what people would remember him for. Well, he was wrong. The man got introduced to younger audiences and walked away with a big fat cheque in his pocket as the movie was a hit. And he looked like he enjoyed himself too. The movie's cast loved listening to him, and boy did Richard regale them with tales of his life. One time he and his co-stars went to a pub, and they listened to him raptly till 4 a.m. You would think the man with his notoriety would tell them off or kick them silly, but he did none of those things. He could be warm when he wanted to be. He even admitted that sometimes he felt like two people were within him, the warm guy and the other guy, the troublemaker, who had the need to get people's attention. So why is this? Why is this man dual? Richard wasn't born bad. He wasn't also a complete victim of Hollywood. The industry just gave him the means to display his ugly parts. It all began on 1st of October 1930 at Overdale, 8 Lansdowne Villas, Ennis Road, Limerick. Harris's birth home at Overdale was a classy 19th century red brick. It had 9 bedrooms and sat in a wealthy part of town. So Harris wasn't born poor. He was the son of a successful flour mill and animal feed factory owner. The family was comfortable. The actor's dad had a chauffeur and the mum had servants. However, the popular feeling was that the man came from a rough, poor home, which was why he acted the way he did. Actually, Harris himself went around with that impression. It dulls the hellraiser image that he went to bed each night with a full belly and pyjamas. So if he was comfortable, why did he turn out to be the way he did? "What's his name again?" Harris's dad asked. Despite having everything, the actor didn't have what he craved the most: his parents' attention. Being one out of 7 children, the star was only part of the numbers. "I never got to know my parents, and they never got to know me." So, to draw attention to himself, the actor acted out. He became a menace in his house, and he loved it. Doing this made his parents notice him. He was the monster they made. His parents felt relief when he went to school. At school, his teachers wanted him to return home. Richard constantly annoyed school authorities, and he took a prank too far when they happily expelled him. Working for his dad, too, wasn't any better. When he was 17, he was one of his dad's delivery men. After going on an errand for his dad, Harris took a detour to a pub and destroyed a bridge on his way home. He got into trouble with the police, which would reoccur throughout his life. It got to a stage where he could enter the local police station for a cup of tea, dead at night. There were only 2 non-destructive things that Harris was genuinely interested in. The first one was rugby. The actor loved it and excelled in it. The sport gave him an outlet for his violent tendencies. He even had a team. But Richard got sick and his rugby team died a brutal death. There was only one thing left for the star: acting. When he proposed his dream of becoming an actor, they supported his ambitions and were eager to pay for his drama school. But trouble loomed. It was the interview day, and Richard was nowhere to be found. Eventually he came in covered in leaves and dirt and still got in. Then Richard went crazy. He more than enjoyed the sights of London and began to develop a portfolio of women he'd seduced. There was no permanence in the relationships he had with these women. The star was constantly on the move, warming different beds, and he soon found that becoming a star wasn't as easy as he thought. However, the actor was saved by something that would later doom him: drinking. Despite not eating well for months, Harris still drank like a fish. It was in one of those drinking sessions that the star overheard someone talking that they had a theatre production and they needed a 50-year-old man for the last role they wanted to cast. Harris called the theatre company, which was Joan Littlewood's Theatre Workshop, a popular company based in the East End. When the person told him that they needed an older man, he yelled at the phone that he looked 50, having not eaten for months and slept for days. He got the part and got his break. Then he did something against his nature. Richard got married. He married Elizabeth Rees-Williams, and if you thought he was mean to his friends, wait till you get a load of what he did to his wife. The star went home drunk and took out his drunkenness on his wife. His friends were shocked at this vicious side of their friend. One time, while Elizabeth talked about his alcoholism, the man threw a wardrobe at her. The marriage was doomed. But Elizabeth wouldn't leave. She was patient. Perhaps she hoped he would change. He didn't. The man could leave home for days, drinking around, and he would sometimes sleep at a stranger's house. At a time, a stranger called the house and told Elizabeth her husband was with them. "Keep him," she replied. They didn't keep him, but she eventually left him, and interestingly, they became great friends. Despite having a record of being a bad husband, the man still went to marry another woman. Anne Turkle was unfortunate in marrying the man when his career was dying down. and the drinks were front and centre of his personality. It was a wild period. Today he was calm, tomorrow he was a big meanie. Like Elizabeth, Anne stood around, and while trying to get over drinks, the actor picked up an even more terrible addiction. His health became worse, and he began to have blackouts. The actor eventually avoided drinking when his second wife left. He became friends with her as the two communicated constantly. However, as time passed, the actor's bad health eventually caught up with him. The actor had lymphatic cancer, but he didn't know. He had moved to his favourite place, the Savoy Hotel, and didn't think his failing health was because of something dangerous. When his family discovered him, he had become too weak to walk. At 72, the actor died with regrets. It pained him that he was unavailable for his children. You won't want to miss this, trust me. Get ready for the next explosive revelation in our video: how Jon Voight and Rick Schroder's ego unleashed epic set-wide strife. Watch it now.